Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, and today I bring you a review on the new not Coen brothers film, Joel Coen's adaptation of Macbeth. This is the upcoming Apple release, The Tragedy of Macbeth, the film that has closed the London Film Festival. It premiered at New York Festival a couple of weeks ago, and safe to say, going to be one of the big Oscar contenders for next year. That being said, before we get into that lovely intro, I'm going to straight away go over the social medias. As we said, this is part of the London Film Festival. This is the last film review from the festival, so it did finish yesterday. I was able to see this at a showing at a cinema local to me in the evening, and there's still a couple more videos to come. But in regards to film reviews, this will be the final one from the festival. A couple more red carpet interviews to go up. We've got Last Night in Soho as well as Belfast. It's just there's a lot more reviews on there than Titan, so do check them out when they go up. There's, I think, about 10 reviews, 10 interviews, sorry, between the two red carpets, which is quite exciting as a heads up. So, in regards to the festival, if you've enjoyed our content, as always, do hit that subscribe button. We love getting people discussing this, talking about these. These are films that, as we said, are very early now. You might get around to seeing these in January, February time, who knows? So, if you do see the film, do drop us a comment, let us know your thoughts on it. Hit that like button, of course. Subscribing does help us aim for those goals, as we've got a lot more things coming your way as we head out of the festival territory and into some of the big blockbusters that are coming up, which I'll go over a little bit near the end. But as I said, I am here to talk about The Tragedy of Macbeth, starring Denzel Washington in the main role of Macbeth and Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth. I know that so many people are focused on those two, which is absolutely fine. That is the two iconic roles, but I actually want to quickly bring up a couple of other characters as well. We've got Brendan Gleeson as Duncan, Corey Hawkins as Macduff, not Harry Melling, I almost said Harry Potter. Of course, it's Dudley from Harry Potter as Malcolm. Harry Melling had one of the best careers out of that cast, and a couple of others which I'm going to get into. But the first thing I'm going to talk about, actually, something I've not really spoke about on the channel much before. Shakespeare as a whole. I know that Chris is a big fan of Shakespeare's work, a lot more of a fan than I am, and it's safe to say that I'm very casual with it. I enjoy Macbeth, and that's the main reason I watched this. This is one of the ones I studied at school, one of the few ones I actually quite enjoyed, and I would go out and see. I know that Daniel Craig's just been announced to do a New York one, which is a bit gutting, wishing it had been in London at West End. But that being said, to me, it's one of the most interesting Shakespeare plays. And there's always as many castings come and go. Who's going to play Macbeth? Who's going to play Lady Macbeth? It's always the big debate. And my word, I mean, just getting one of the Coens wanting to do this is one thing, but then getting Denzel and Frances McDormand, I thought was incredible. I think when this film was announced with those, that was the selling point for me. I know that we had the Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard version a couple of years ago. I think there may be a review on the channel from the very, very early days. I could be wrong, but I wasn't a fan of that one. And I think I was this is the first ever time I went to a cinema and was the only person in the auditorium. So maybe check out the channel in case that really was up. I'll have to double check after. But that being said, when you're casting Denzel in leading role, we know he's a fantastic actor. The same thing about Francis McDormand, and these two were just sensational together. I don't know if they've been in films together, but they just had this raw chemistry. And I think the way they were talking about the text as well, how they were reciting the performances, both of them are incredible. I'm going to say straight away, to me, I think the Oscar race is done and dusted for Best Actor. I don't think anyone's going to get close to Denzel this year. I know that everyone was talking about Will Smith for King Richard, and I haven't been able to see that yet. But watching this film, I just was in absolute awe at Denzel. I mean, I know he's a phenomenal actor, but I've never really seen Americans do Shakespeare, and I don't think that's a really nasty thing to say. Obviously, I've never been to the States to see the theatres, but so many, I guess, people would turn their nose at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, British actors, thespians, all that kind of stuff. But my word, Denzel was incredible in this film, and it's a really fair way to talk about him. He had this thing I've never really seen with a Macbeth performance where he brings charisma to it. Now, it's a really weird thing to say because, as I said, it's a theatre, it's a stage performance, but he's just able to bring in something new to this character that I've not seen before, making it his own, whilst obviously doing it in a way that is authentic to the source material. And I think that's what surprised me most. That I'll get into some other stuff, but to me, Denzel Washington was absolutely superb, and everyone was great. In truth, there's not a bad performance in this film, but I have to say he took it to another level for me cinematically as well. I'll get into the direction shortly and some of the style choices, which a lot of people have been talking about. But with Frances McDormand as well, you know what you're going to get. She is a phenomenal actress, one of the best working around, and whether she wins an Oscar, I do not know. There's a film that we're going to talk about this Friday, which I think could have a shout, but whether they submit for supporting or something else, I don't know. But Francis McDormand was great. And it was quite interesting having an older take on Macbeth, that they weren't, in their 30s and their 40s. These are, actors in their 60s now. And it was a really fascinating way of doing it. And I think that also comes down to the choices from Joel Coen, that with this film, he obviously does it in black and white, which is something we'll be speaking about, because we kind of joked the other day that black and white's getting this trend. I think it was on the French Dispatch review, where some films are doing it for no reason, some do it, because it's absolutely the right choice. And this one 100% falls into the latter, that stylistically, I know they're all dubbing it monochrome, is another term for it, of course, but this was beautiful. The cinematography in this film was outstanding. It was done by Bruno Del Bonel, if I'm pronouncing that correct, and I just thought some of the stuff they did with this, even from the set design to the lighting, with the set designs, there was nothing extravagant, no humongous castles. It was very simplistic in nature, that it felt like you were at a theatre performance, but it was bigger than a theatre. It felt cinematic without being too cinematic. It brought the forefront of the attention to the performances of the actors more so than style and what's around them. I think that was a really interesting thing to do with it being for the cinema. And I would call it quite a claustrophobic take on Macbeth, because, as I said, it felt like a theatre. And one of the ones I remember from school was, I believe it was Dame Judi Dench and Serene McKellen did Macbeth, and this was taped decades ago, and that was obviously recorded on the stage, and it was amazing to watch at school. But this one felt like an updated version, that it probably wasn't on location or might not have had massive elaborate sets, but what they choose to do, it felt so basic. It obviously did everything that needed to do. However, the production design was incredible at the same time, that whilst not being too much, everything was sort of as you'd expect of the Coen Brothers film, done with precision, from the cinematography to things being central to not just to angles, but the lighting points, the design of buildings and moments, and with it being 4:3. I'm bringing up a film earlier this year that some people think invented 4:3, which really wasn't. This worked. It looked stunning, and I think with it being obviously that aspect ratio, they were able to essentially storyboard the shots around it so that they felt very square. And I mean that in a really good way, not to compliment aspect ratio too much, but it didn't feel pointless. It didn't feel like it wanted to be up itself. It actually just it felt really cool that it worked in a box. And that's kind of going into what I was saying before about it feeling very claustrophobic as a film, was that all of those style choices combine into one, with symmetry and all that kind of stuff. It just was a really interesting take on that I'd not seen before. And I think this has had the general consensus, I think, is that a lot of people have enjoyed this film. Some people do think it may be up itself. I'm going to go on a whim and say that every Shakespeare adaptation's like that. And as I said, I'm not a massive fan of it, but there was something about this one. And, I'm not going to sit here and say I want authenticity. I don't need British accents. Of course, Denzel's being Denzel, Francis McDormand's Francis McDormand. It's just amazing to see this new take on it. Obviously we've got Brendan Gleeson as Duncan, who has always had a presence. What doesn't matter what you watch him in, and it's just really interesting seeing all these actors in this role. And as I said, it felt claustrophobic. It felt like it could have been easy to film. I'm not saying it's not, but the choices by the Coens. If you've seen the film, you'll mean by the locations, the set designs. There was nothing too extreme and over the top that allowed you to again draw back to the focus of these performances. And I just think it was a really unique way of doing it. And I also want to give a massive shout out to Catherine Hunter, who played the witches in this. I spent about 20 minutes thinking, I know her from something, and then I realized she's Mrs. Fig from Order of the Phoenix. What I didn't realize until doing a bit of research is that she's a very accomplished stage director, so that's absolutely on me. But obviously, that the Harry Potter stuff comes through there. But um, yeah, there's so much talk about this film, and it's going to be really interesting to see people's reactions. But I'm actually going to talk about the Oscars really quickly, because this festival is always like a transition period into Oscar season. We're having the blockbuster season that's slowly been and gone. Obviously, it's a bit different this year because of COVID, but we're starting to get the films come out now to push us through to next year. And I think Tragedy and Macbeth is right up there with what's going to get nominated for everything. As I said already, I think Denzel's stolen this film. I think he's got the Oscar in the bag. He was wonderful. I'd expect Francis McDormand to be nominated. I've really enjoyed Corey Hawkins. He's been in so many things. He's getting bigger and bigger. He plays Macduff, which I really enjoyed. And of course, one actor who I wasn't familiar with is Bertie Cavill. He plays Banquo. Now, he played Miss Trunchbull on the stage musical for Matilda. I don't know if it's just finished or if it's still ongoing, but very much a theatre theatre actor who's making the jump into the big screen, and I really enjoyed him. I think also because I hadn't seen him in something before, so I want to give him a lovely shout out because I thought he was great. But um, yeah, this film's going to be all over the Oscars because I think this will win cinematography. I don't think. I mean, I was speaking so highly of Dune recently. I think this film's got cinematography in the bag, and it's shaping up to be a very exciting Oscar year. I think a lot more exciting than this year was. In truth, this year had some really good films. Obviously, some bonkers decisions on the night, but next year's Oscar ceremony, I think, is going to be an absolute cracking one. I just hope that they get the right films nominated and they aren't biased towards certain things being streamers, because this is of course an Apple streamer, and we know that Apple has knocked it out the bag with Ted Lasso on TV and the morning show and so many other things. And I just kind of want to reiterate that, obviously we was going about the cinema experience, and this was great seeing this on the big screen. Apple is really done a lot better than anyone thought. The quality of their shows, of their content. I think they're one of these service subscriptions that, they go for quality, not quantity. The same can't be said for Netflix. So it's going to be really interesting to see if that hampers anything. Whether this is going to win Best Film, I don't know personally. I think The Power of the Dog, which I saw at the festival, I think is probably the best film I've seen of the entire festival. But Tragedy of Macbeth, sorry, this left an almighty impact on me, and one that I absolutely recommend for everybody to watch when this is released. I think in January on Apple TV. It's going to get a cinema release in the States in December. Maybe it'll get something over here in the UK, who knows? But that is everything I can say on this. Obviously, I don't need to talk about the plot of Macbeth, we will know that by now, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. If you've seen the film, drop me a comment and let me know what you thought of it. Hit that like button, do subscribe. As I said, we've got blockbusters, but we've also got Oscar films that are going to start cropping up soon. So we've covered a lot of the festival. We've got a playlist, which you can see in the description below. That's got everything we've reviewed at the festival. That's going to have the interviews on as well. So have a look at that playlist. Check out a couple of those reviews. We've not had as many as we'd want to have done normally this year, but obviously some things cropped up, so we couldn't get every film covered. I know a lot of people have enjoyed them. There's some great ones I missed out on, such as Belfast and Red Rocket, to name a few. But that is all the reviews, as I said, from London Film Festival. As I said, it's been fun to do. Obviously, Tate's jumped on for a couple. Charlie came on as well, and just meeting all the people there in person has been absolutely great. So a big thank you to everybody that's been in that festival. And in the weirdest, from going from Macbeth to talking about Venom Let There Be Carnage. Ironically, in Venom Let There Be Carnage, Woody Harrelson does actually say a line from Macbeth. So whether that's a lovely segue, I don't know. But the review's going to be out this Wednesday, the 20th. That's going to be me, Charlie, and Neil. We're going to have a review out for The Last Duel this Friday, the 22nd. That'll be me and Chris. And we're going to have a Dune spoiler review coming out this Saturday after its general release around the world. So we'll be able to go into it in a bit more detail than we did in the spoiler-free review. Obviously, I've finished reading the book now, so there's a lot of things to say. So they're going to be the next 3 big videos that are reviews. And of course, there is something big missing, and that is the James Bond top 10 ranking video. At the time of recording this is going to be out tomorrow. This is capping off the incredible retrospective we've been working on for 6 months. We've managed to get almost everybody that collaborated with us on submitting their top 10s alongside our own and creating our own channel's definitive Bond top 10 ranking. So as I said, I want to thank everybody for watching this, for watching these reviews over the last couple of weeks. It's been really fun to do. I'm already excited about Film Festival 2022. And if you want to find us, follow us on social media. If you want to tweet us about some of your thoughts on these films or drop into the DMs about it, that's Twitter at cinema_savvy, facebook.com/cinemasavvy, and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. So do find us on there. And as I said, thank you all for watching, and we'll be sure to see you on the next one. Take care.